The top 5 judges of the Supreme Court who constitute the Collegium have deferred their decision about Justice Joseph's elevation to the Supreme Court. Justice Joseph, along with senior lawyer Indu Malhotra, were the 2 people whose names were sent by the Collegium to the government for appointments to the top court. The government did agree on Indu Malhotra's name but sent back Joseph's file. In 2016, if you remember, Justice Joseph, as Chief Justice of the Uttarakhand High Court, had rejected the centre's order of President's rule in the state. Today's meeting of the Collegium lasted for about 50 minutes. They also considered the names of judges from 3 other high courts in view of one of the criticisms, in fact, that the government had levelled while returning Justice Joseph's name, which was that they felt that there were other more deserving candidates from high courts. And this was what had been specifically cited in that letter to the Collegium. But as we said, the final decision has been deferred. Sources saying the Collegium is expected to meet again later this week or next week. And my colleague Vaidyanathan now joining us with more details on that. In fact, Vaidya, you're actually hearing that they're likely to stick to Justice Joseph's name. So what happened today? I mean, it also does reflect that possibly that there may have been differences of opinion, that at least a difference of opinion in approach or something, because otherwise why wouldn't they reach a conclusion today?
Nidhi, actually this meeting went on for 45 to 50 minutes, but let me make it very clear, there is no dissent at all. If you see the resolution being uploaded on the website, all the 5 judges have signed it, so there is no dissent at all. It's a unanimous decision. What happened in the Collegium meeting, according to the sources, top sources told NDTV that there are 3 points. One, the Collegium is likely to stick to its decision, reiterating decision or recommending Justice K.M. Joseph to the country's top court. Second, they wanted to send a detailed response to the central government. So they said we will decide it later. So in the next meeting, probably next week, another meeting may happen. So in the next meeting, the Collegium will finalize a detailed response to the central government. So now Collegium will meet probably next week to decide that. But Collegium is very clear that Joseph will have to be made the judge of the Supreme Court.
All right, you're saying no dissent there in the Collegium, and you're hearing that they are very clear that they want to send Justice Joseph's name back, but with a detailed response to the government. Let me also play out what Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad said earlier today. Remember, there have been these accusations that the opposition has hurled at the BJP-led government, saying that the reason they don't want Justice Joseph to be elevated to the Supreme Court is because he overturned President's rule in Uttarakhand in a 2016 order. Today, Mr. Prasad said that that is completely untrue and that is not linked to this decision by the government at all.
The commitment of this government for the independence of judiciary and respect for the institution of judiciary and the judges is complete and uncompromisable. The right of the government to seek a reconsideration of the proposals made by the Collegium is granted to the government by the Supreme Court judgment itself, the Congress party in particular, and some others in general, that it has to do something with the decision of the Uttarakhand President rule. I wish to deny with all authority at my command, it has nothing to do with that at all.
Sunetra Chaudhary also joining us for more on this big story. Sunetra, this has really become a very unseemly tussle between the government and the judiciary over these appointments.
Well, it's become very, very complicated, and a very important clarification there by the law minister when he says, what was actually the elephant in the room, what everybody was thinking, what had been written about, a categorical denial that it had nothing to do with his 2016 order where he had slammed it, which was against the central government and the president's rule in Uttarakhand. But what has happened, and we have to wait and see. So everybody is watching out now. Where there's of course reporting what's likely to happen, but this has got everyone really interested and really torn over, because as one critical point pointed out, that in all of this it comes of course in the backdrop of the kind of dissent that we've seen within the judiciary. We've seen this Collegium which has Deepak Mishra and the other 4 judges, the 4 judges going public with their opposition and what they have against the Chief Justice's orders, his role as master of roster, and the kind kind of assignations that he's done in assigning cases to particular benches. But of course, what's also become complicated is, as one pointed out, that the BJP government in this way, when the Congress moved its impeachment motion, many felt that the way the BJP government actually defended it and criticized the Congress, it was as their own, and the Congress government seemed to do it as if the CJI is a BJP person. So it was becoming very, very vitiated. The entire atmosphere became vitiated. But now it all depends, of course, in what happens in the next. It will become clear in the next Collegium's meeting, where of course where they have said that it will become very clear that they stand by with the decision of again sending it back to KM Joseph, and that's what we have to do. Of course, we've seen in particular cases, the Ravi Shankar Prasad of course mentioning that there have been other instances, but we've only seen it in very rare ones where they have something to do with the intelligence background checks in names of judges.
Well, it is interesting because he is the Chief Justice of the Uttarakhand High Court, and so many would say that what better qualification is that there than that. Sunetra, thanks a lot for that. Justice B.A. Khan is joining us tonight, the former Chief Justice of the Jammu and Kashmir High Court. Vikas Singh, the President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, is with us. Prashant Bhushan is joining us again tonight. Mr. Deshratan Nigam, Senior Lawyer, Member of the RSS, and Professor Sanjay Kumar himself, an advocate, also joining us. Justice Khan, your thoughts on this, on this entire row. What do you think the indecision of the Collegium today is telling you?
I don't know if Vaidya's report is correct, and if according to him, Collegium is unanimous in recommending Justice Joseph's name and reiterating that recommendation again, then there is nothing to discuss. There might be some procedural problems which the Collegium must have faced and which necessitated perhaps the deferring of the matter. For example, according consideration to some more people to meet the Government of India's objection that there were other seniors and so on and so forth. But I personally believe that, see, this is a case of opportunity lost in a way, because the reiteration of Justice Joseph's recommendation in today's meeting, which should not have taken 5 minutes or more if there was a unanimity. I don't know whether there is a unanimity at all. Would have salvaged some of the damage which has been done to the image of the judiciary by the happenings and in the last few months. It would have also restored some kind of a harmony in the administrative functioning of the Supreme Court, which is driven by, in the public perception, by discord and dissension.
So you believe this is very much a test case for the independence of the judiciary?
Oh, of course, because see, if they reiterate this recommendation and give a united front image that we are standing up to defend the independence of the judiciary, because for whatever reason the objections have been taken by the government, and we are together, all five are together, and we do it for the independence of the judiciary. We have made a decision on full consideration at that time, and we are not in a position to change that decision. You can't change decisions overnight. Supreme Court judges do not do that. And you could definitely send a message to all those, to the people, to public in general, restore confidence that no, see, in spite of
the judiciary is standing up to pressure.
Together, yeah.
Well, I just want to take one particular point you said to Vikas Singh, which is that, Justice Khan, Vikas Singh is saying that he personally thinks that if this was entirely unanimous and they are going to reiterate Justice Joseph's name, he feels that perhaps this meeting wouldn't have taken 50 minutes today and then gone into another meeting next week. Do you agree with that assessment, or do you think it's entirely possible that the Collegium is trying to prepare a detailed rebuttal to every point that was raised by the government in returning Justice Joseph's name? Of course, all of us can only speculate here at the moment because we weren't part of that meeting.
Well, as far as the reason why the deferment has taken place, or what weighed with the Collegium in taking a call to defer the matter, is in the realm of guesswork. But my point is that if they had decided to recommend two names, there were more vacancies even at that point of time. If they had decided to recommend 2 names, if they had known that there were other senior people also available, which is not something which is hidden from the Collegium when they make recommendation for 2 names, then if the file had come back from the government, then if they had nothing against Justice Joseph, then they should have reiterated that name rather than linking up with the other appointment, because what is going to happen then, the government will succeed in some sense, because then Justice Joseph will lose out on his seniority, and in the next batch of appointments, if there are some people senior to him, then they will become senior to him in the appointment of the Supreme Court as well. So I really can't say. I am really firm of the view that whenever there are vacancies to the Supreme Court, all vacancies should be recommended at one go. So in fact, even the Collegium, while making a recommendation, at many times does this to the heartburn of a lot of people who get elevated later, that if everybody had been elevated at one go, then there would have been no issue of somebody junior being sent first and senior being sent later. So that should be the rule, but in this case they had already violated that rule of sending 2 names instead of more vacancies being there. So ideally they should have reiterated this name rather than deferring it for the consideration of other names for appointment to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
But having done that, I would further say that now if they are recommending, then they should fill up all vacancies. They should now recommend full, so whatever are the vacancies, including the one which is occurring 3 days from now, they should now in this Collegium discuss and fill up all the vacancies, because that will be in the larger public interest, and at least some good will come out in this entire controversy.
Would you agree that this is a test case for the judiciary to assert its independence, as Justice Khan and others believe?
No, I don't think so. It's not about, let me tell you, it's not about KM Joseph. It's about those 45 other judges whose merit has come into question. It is about those 11 judges who were the CJIs who have been bypassed. Just merely writing Collegium, he's an outstanding merit, does not suffice. You've got to justify it, one. Secondly, you have got to justify each and every judge who's senior to him. You have to compare and then say that person is not fit to be elevated. Therefore, this is not about KM Joseph. Everybody is making it to be a KM Joseph issue. It is not about that. It is about justifying that these 45 people are not suitable for the post, which is the general service. I think Justice Khan would agree. When you start comparing the merits of the people, you have to justify why the other person is not good. So why these 45 persons are not good has to be justified. Why these 11 judges who as chief justices who have been bypassed are not good. Secondly, independence of judiciary people are talking about. Are these 45 people and 11 judges not part of judiciary? Once you bypass them, is it not affecting the independence of the judiciary?
So you're saying it's the reverse?
It is the reverse. It is not about KM Joseph. I am saying it is not about KM Joseph. It has a larger scenario and larger picture into it.
You're saying it's not about KM Joseph. Prashant Bhushan, couple of things. Do you agree that it's not about KM Joseph, or is it actually very much about him? And secondly, what did you think of the deferment today? Did that take you by surprise?
Well, it is certainly about Justice K.M. Joseph. That's the only name which has been sent back, and that was the main issue under consideration today. If there was unanimity in the Collegium, it should have been reiterated today itself, because that would have sent a clear and strong signal to the government that the judiciary is willing to stand up, that the Collegium is willing to stand up to the government. The reasons given by the government that there are others who are senior to him, or that already one judge of Kerala, these are totally bogus reasons. It's been made very clear in all the judgments that the selection of judges for the Supreme Court has to be purely by merit. Seniority and regional considerations play some role, but they play a very secondary role. The predominant consideration is merit. That had been considered at great length. They had said very clearly that we are aware that he is number 42 in the list of seniority, of all India seniority, yet we feel that he is definitely the fittest in all respects to be brought to the Supreme Court. So therefore, with these bogus reasons of the government being given by them to send back the recommendation, it should not have taken much time for the Collegium to reiterate its
So you're
recommendation.
skeptical that they are that they're going to reach a unanimous decision on
Joseph's
Justice Joseph's name. You're skeptical. You believe that there are differences within the Collegium then?
Well, there could be. I am not privy to that, but I am just saying that I am a little surprised and unhappy that they deferred this decision, because this was known as to what are the reasons on which the government has sent it back. It was known that these are bogus reasons. All those reasons had been dealt with by the Collegium in the first recommendation itself, and therefore, and this is not the first time that the government has tried to victimize Justice Joseph. They victimized him when they did not accept the recommendation of the Collegium earlier to transfer him to Andhra Pradesh. They victimized Justice Jayant Patel, who had been earlier transferred from Gujarat to Karnataka because he had given a judgment in this fake encounters case involving this Amit Shah.
Yeah.
And thereafter
you're talking
in Karnataka he was
you're saying
he was
judges are being
recommended to be
specifically
appointed
targeted.
Chief Justice.
You're saying
But the
judges are being
government,
specifically targeted based on rulings that
Yes,
they have made.
absolutely.
Yeah. So Professor Sanjay Kumar, how how does the
doubt,
government deal
no
with that
doubt about
perception?
that.
That perception. Yeah.
First of all, I fully disagree with my learned friend Prashant Bhushan ji. We have to see this problem in a larger canvas. We have to read between the lines. Actually, what I believe, what I feel, the deferment definitely it is on the paper, it is unanimous thing, but we have to see that out of 5 judges, out of 4, they are the same who presented a case, made a case out of against CJI. Definitely there is something wrong in Collegium. And second thing, Collegium was a judicial invention. Prashant Bhushan ji would agree. If you see the situation before 1993, as per constitution, as per the mind of the makers of constitution, government of India, president, because president works on the advice of parliament, therefore I am saying government was supposed to appoint the judges with the consultation of CGI or with the consultation of judges. Even in case of if they are appointing CGI, if you read the constitution article, president is not supposed to even consult CGI. Any judge.
But that all changed.
Let me finish. Now what is happening, de jure the appointment is being made by the president, but de facto the appointment is being made by the Supreme Court. Judges are selecting judges. Definitely collegium system has given us some definitely better position before 1993 when we see the cases of
there is a problem with the collegium system, but it doesn't mean that the government then making those appointments will be the answer to that.
Definitely it's an intervention, I agree, but government is supposed to intervene. After all, government is elected.
How do you escape the perception that judges are being targeted for their rulings?
Why we are centering on the only idea that merits can only be decided by the judges? After all, we have
But how does the government escape this perception that it is
also
targeting judges that have ruled uncomfortably against it in the past? Two examples Prashant Bhushan has given.
No. I can give a lot of examples. Even I'm forgetting the name of judge, second judge case that was in 1993. The chief CGI that time himself is now saying the system has got some errors. It has to be improved. After all, it is better, not the best. I am putting.
No. I can also quote.
It is a better system, but not the best.
Justice Thakur, Chief Justice Thakur, Chief Justice Lodha, Mr. Nigam. There are enough former Chief Justices, Justice A.P. Shah, eminent jurists and former Chief Justices of this country. Forget the opposition for a minute. They're all speaking out and they believe, one moment, that this is very much about the independence of the judiciary. Yes, Justice Khan, one second. Justice Khan, I think you would agree the collegium system is not perfect, but you still believe that this is very much a test case.
But not the best.
Well, it's better but not the best. Having said that, this is very much a test case, as you keep reiterating. What would happen? What would happen tomorrow if, let's say, one of the 5 judges does have a problem with Justice Joseph's appointment, but the majority of the collegium wants to go ahead? What would happen?
No, it will not go through. See,
it has to be unanimous.
Yeah, it has to be either unanimous, or it has to be 4 as against 1, but Chief Justice must be with 4. Now, if it is Chief Justice having reservations, then the recommendation will not go through, because he is the mover of the recommendation. If he refuses to move for
He's the
whatever
head of the
reservation,
Collegium also.
4 are on the other side, they say no, 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 he is the only person who has to be recommended, the recommendation will not go through. There are no written procedural rules for Collegium meeting or for
These are
making a
conventions.
recommendation. That's one aspect of it. The other thing which you touched was that the Collegium system was bad. We have debated that issue for years on, and we have found that, and even Justice Chamleshwar in the judge's appointment case found so many infirmities, so many shortcomings in the collegial working. That time the rumors were that there was wheeling dealing going on, that every Collegium member was advancing the cause of his own favorite, and so on and so forth. And that is why that Judicial Appointments Commission came into being, and Judicial Appointments Commission was ultimately challenged, and in that challenge the judgment of the Supreme Court, it came to a tussle of power in a way,
Yeah, it did.
between the judiciary and the government that time, but a balance was struck that let it be with the Collegium, but whatever are the failings of in Collegium working, we will sort that out by prescribing a memorandum of procedure. That memorandum of procedure will lay down the criteria how best to make a selection of the meritorious people to the bench. Now, that memorandum of procedure is stuck for the last 3-4 years. 2013 was the judge's appointment judgment, and we are in 2018.
Yeah, there's no
and
clarity on
Supreme
that.
Court has cleared it, and the government is sitting on it. As far as Mr. Nigam saying that the seniority, I wish the procedure he is suggesting was adopted anywhere or was prevailed
Then
anywhere.
Justice Khan would have been in Supreme Court.
I would
I'm
have
telling
been the
you.
Chief Justice of India since.
Yes. if Collegium was not there, and if they had followed the basic structure of the
because
Constitution.
Seniority has never been
A criteria.
observed. It has never been made any issue in elevation to the Supreme Court. The senior, if you are talking of seniority finding mention in the memorandum of procedure today, then adopt that memorandum of procedure and
Why are you sitting on it?
extend the procedure.
But you know, Vikas Singh, that's a very important point. Like you said, you would have been Chief Justice of India if it had just been just by seniority. But Vikas Singh, you made an important point when you came here last, which was that you wanted to actually get a petition moved in the court that there has to be a time-bound decision on Collegium recommendations. What happened to that? Because this is very important, and to explain to our viewers here, once and if the Collegium does send back Justice Joseph's name, there is really no deadline under which the government has to, the government has to accept his name, but they don't have a particular deadline within which to do so. So Vikas Singh, what happened to that? Because having this done in a time-bound manner is very important.
Well, I had drafted that, settled that petition on the 18th of April, and I have circulated it to my EC members. But you know, my executive committee members have some very eminent lawyers, and they are not getting time to read that petition. So unless I get a resolution approving that petition, it can't be filed. And if that petition were to be filed, it will really be a game changer, because there I have also taken the point that there should be objectivity in the appointment of judges. Like for instance, they have for senior advocates, you know, names have to be ultimately approved by a committee where at least 2 eminent lawyers should vet those names. That is all that has been said in the petition. Every name eligible in that eligibility list, which is to be decided by the Collegium itself, should be considered by the Collegium. So for instance, you say 45 to 55 for High Court. You say above a particular income level, you say at least 5 or 10 reported judgments, then you can scan all the names in that category and then put them before a screening committee who will have 2 eminent lawyers, which will also be decided by the Collegium. But that petition is unfortunately stuck because the EC is not having time to read that petition, and they feel that this is not so important to discuss. They have more important issues to discuss. So if that, and I've also said that there should be a permanent secretariat at the Supreme Court and as well as at the High Courts to ensure that this groundwork, because you know what has happened, the Collegium has taken the power of, assumed the power of appointing judges, but they are not discharging it responsibly according to me. Right. So they need to be given that wherewithal, that infrastructure, that secretariat to do this exercise on a continuing basis. And all vacancies, again in the petition I have said, all vacancies should be filled at one go, all vacancies. And I have also said that Supreme Court lawyers need to be appointed to the various high courts, and they are not being considered because there is no objective criteria. And they don't go to the high courts, so accordingly they are not being considered.
No, that's an important point.
So these are some very major issues, but unfortunately it is
not getting discussed. Professor Sanjay Kumar and Mr. Nigam, to both of you, Professor Kumar, would you agree? Let it be time bound, let all vacancies be filled, let there be a secretariat that permanently deals with these issues.
Didi, I am raising a larger issue. Question is not of a time bound response by the central government. Why we call the independence of judiciary is a basic structure of constitution? Because we feel so. In Keshwanand Bharti case, independence of judiciary was agreed as to be basic structure of constitution. But independence of judiciary is something different, and appointment of judges are something different. We are unfortunately we
if
are
the government has a
both
say in
issues
appointing judges, then how is the
no.
judiciary independent?
Are we saying
There is a
before
procedure.
1981?
Please let me finish.
Just one to add to your point only. Are we saying before 1981 the judges who were appointed were not independent? Justice B.A. Khan was not independent. Are you saying that? It was working.
There's a reason that system
there
changed.
was some definitely there was some
No, they changed
there
the
was
basic
some problems.
structure of the constitution.
In the case of
Consultation
Justice A.N. Rai,
becomes concurrence. Concurrence becomes final appointing authority. Supreme Court takes
Well, there were
absolute
huge
power
problems
in
with
its
the way
hand.
judges were appointed before that, and we know that.
See, you could sit
but
in a
after you
judicial
have been
review.
appointed, after you have been appointed, you have to act like a judge.
You can
It is
sit
a
in a
chair.
if the government is making a wrong appointment, judiciary is the final arbiter. They can sit in under judicial review. They have that
should
power.
There not be a but let's talk about today. Time bound response.
Now
Is that a
let
good
me
idea?
tell you. Now let me tell you. Elected executive is not merely a rubber stamp. They are actually answerable to the people. So I consider second and third judges case to be a bad law, but be that as it may, it is there and it has to be followed. These judges were very conscious of the fact that they are taking away power from the elected representative and taking it upon themselves. They consciously remained silent on the issue of the time period, so that the theory of checks and balances, as I've already said before, comes into play. No absolute power to any of the organs of the state. So checks and balances have to be there. Even if they return it, reiterating K.M. Joseph's this thing, government can sit over it.
I know.
There
but
is
that's
a pocket.
problem.
There is a
How
pocket.
is that a good thing?
No, it's because that's the theory of checks and balances.
What? It
Because
means that
Defeating. That's not a
No.
How?
Why? That means you should give absolute power to the Supreme Court to appoint. There should be no checks and balances to it. Whatever they say is right. No,
yeah.
not
Justice
at
Khan?
all.
See, we are not on giving absolute power. We have been experimenting with the different types of systems. First, we had the executive control, as you know, as you said, that even that time.
Can we
Very outstanding-
experiment
Let me add one
when
thing.
it is a basic
One minute.
No,
structure?
just a
Let him
minute.
finish, let him finish.
Very outstanding judges were there from that system
What about,
also.
CJI,
But at one,
Bhagwati?
please, bear with me for a minute. Then that system got rotten. We know we had a very bad phase of the supersession of judges and firing and
Exactly.
hiring of judges and so on and so forth. And the only way out, thought you say the usurpation of power by the Supreme Court was warranted in the circumstances at that time. If you look to the conditions at that, please bear with me, look to the conditions at that time. Now, it was thought that the judges who know more about their own judges will come out with a better choice, better merit, better, but they bungled.
Well, that's
They
a
made a
big-
mess of
yeah,
it.
That is a bigger
They made
debate.
a mess of it.
No,
Let
but
me
that's not the
answer.
debate here today. I just want to stress here,
and
because
I
the
fully
debate
agree.
about whether the collegium system is a good one or a bad one is a different one. I think what we're talking about today is the circumstances in which Justice Joseph's name has gone back in the way that
No,
it
it's
has.
clear intervention by the government. I
it
fully
is.
agree. But
It
why
is.
it is bad?
Well,
Why it
because
is
why
bad?
should the government
After
also
all,
have a
it's
say? And
elected body.
it can sit on, I mean, you know, it can sit on his name indefinitely.
Let me finish.
So I'm out of time, but I think those are bigger questions about the collegium system. We've had actually many debates, even when the National Judicial Commission, the whole debate around, you know, what was a better system of appointment. I think this is a more specific case currently. We'll have to see what ultimately
But
happens
if
when
it
the
is
collegium meets
if
next
it is
week.
repeated,
Yeah.
which should be
Yeah.
for the sake of the
The
independence
government
of
is
the
bound
judiciary.
by
The
it,
government
so
is bound-
sitting on it
bound
then
by
is an issue.
Sitting on it will
Yeah.
raise
It
many
will
more
stall the
issues.
Many-
further appointments, and definitely
And
will be,
it's a vicious cycle. I
think
have to leave it there. I
Second
have
and
to leave
third
it there.
judges were very intelligent. They left this open. keeping in mind theory of checks and balances. Automatic question
I
would
don't
have
know how
been
sitting
the
on a
time
judicial
period, they
appointment
didn't go into it.
Is necessarily checks and balances. But anyway, let's see what happens when the Collegium meets again. Thank you to all of you for joining us tonight.